Hi, everybody. We're just going to give it one more minute and then we'll get going. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. We are here to present Powering Pharma Intelligence with Advanced Analytics. My name is Michael Hay. I'm Head of Intelligence Solutions at Pharma Intelligence. I'm joined today by Chris Vincia, who's the Chief Revenue Officer at Signals Analytics. A couple of housekeeping items before we get going. This is a live webcast. It is being recorded, and a link to the recording and slides will be sent to the registrants after the webinar. Questions can be asked at any time using the chat box underneath the media player. And any questions that aren't addressed during the webinar, we will follow up via email. We do have a polling feature for today's webinar. A couple times during it, you will see a poll pop up asking you a question, very quick, multiple choice answer. So please fill that out. We will share the responses as we go through the webinar. I'm also meant to remind you that the exits are in the rear of the room, and I hope everyone knows where the restrooms are in their home. And I very much look forward to delivering this or other future webinars actually in person at some unforeseen point in the future. I appreciate everyone's time today, and we will get going. On the agenda today, I'm going to take us through some of the challenges around data and content in the pharma space. Talk about what we've done in the combination of Pharma Intelligence and Signals Analytics. And then Chris is going to go through some of the applications we've developed together that are solving some of the problems that people have and some of the use cases of those. Just to set the stage, over the last 5 years, the amount of data has exponentially expanded. For one medical condition alone, you can see that there are thousands of different data points and content sets related to things such as papers, patents, clinical trials, adverse events, news, all types of different things. It's very noisy out there with all this information. It's difficult to sift through it all to really get to the answers that you want. And as a result, what we would call a typical researcher's journey, here where you might go find data, you would then integrate it and analyze, it looks quite a bit different. It's a lot more messy than that, and a lot of triangulation, enrichment, using visualizations, using analytics, etc. So that big expansion of data comes with a lot of time and understanding from the user standpoint to be able to actually make sense of that and to create predictive and really insightful-driven analytics that actually give you something you can use. So there's a lot of time that's wasted. There are a lot of different tools and money spent on technology and consultants, et cetera, to actually get to the answers that we're looking to get to. So now we're going to have a poll. You should see it pull up on your screen related to who is trying to use AI to solve some of these challenges that we have today. Appreciate if you could just fill that out, and we will share the results as they come in or as they're completed. But I think it's important to note that a lot of this is done manually, and in order to actually get to these solutions quicker and more robustly, you need an analytic solutions. So what we're going to talk about today is the combination of a very robust and enriched and high quality data set from Pharma Intelligence with the capabilities of Signals Analytics to capture additional data sets that are in the public domain, such as patents and research papers and from PubMed, et cetera, with a very high quality advanced analytics platform to bring the different data sets together and produce answers for people. Just a little bit about the two companies. Informa Pharma Intelligence delivers content and research and analysis through several different brands, such as Biometracker, Data Monitor Healthcare, and Sightline, Script, and Pinksheet. Specialized information that is created by experts for experts related to clinical trials, related to drug forecasts, related to events and catalysts, commentary on today's events, things such as interviews with CEOs and chief medical officers, very high quality content delivered through the Informa Pharma Intelligence platforms. Signals Analytics was founded in 2009, based out of New York, and it was really technology that was inspired by military experience, but a very configurable platform that allows data sets to come in, be combined, and results be put out that are actionable and meaningful, really through artificial intelligence, so techniques such as machine learning, natural language processing. We knew that if we could combine the subscription solutions from Informa Pharma with an engine such as Signals Analytics, we could produce a series of apps, as we call them, to solve different problems such as target prioritization, modality innovation, and competitive benchmarking. And that's what we're going to be speaking about today. And just a view of how that looks. So we take data from different sources, such as Biometracker, Sightline, PubMed, NIH, put it into the engine for the AI, and it comes out on the other side in these apps. And as you see here, there's scoring, there's ability to dive into the different targets or modalities and look at different companies using all this data in combination. So it really takes that process that we talked about earlier, the researcher's process, and does it for you and gives you an answer on the other end that you can take and use in business decisions. Now, why is this so much better than what you might be able to do yourself looking at public domain sources? Well, really it starts with the data that goes in. And the data that's coming from Informa Pharma Intelligence has a very robust editorial process. We capture data from over 45,000 different sources. We review it, we deduplicate it, we make sure that it's curated and tagged correctly. There's always a routine review of all the sources. So it's a very detailed process to go and capture a lot of information. We create it with human intelligence then. So we add a lot to it. We review it with human eyes that have experience in building these things. I think we have about 1,000 years of experience on the team. And it's a very rigorous process to make sure that the data is all accurate, timely, and has depth to it. We then enhance it with additional things such as endpoints or patient segmentations. We augment it with additional content from other places such as epidemiology and other sites such as patent claims. And then we deliver it through a seamlessly integrated platform, Informa Pharma Intelligence. So this is the data that we've collected and is going into this new Signals applications that we've developed. What that translates to is, first, a much more robust and a wider breadth of coverage. So this is just one example of clinical trials coming from our product Trial Trove. And you can see the difference in trials that are not captured in clinicaltrials.gov that are captured in Trial Trove. So with the exception of oncology and vaccines, you'd be missing more than half the trials. And even in oncology and vaccine, it's about half the trials are not captured if you're using just clinicaltrials.gov. In addition to that breadth, we have very robust depth of coverage. So we add a lot more to a clinical trial record than you can find just in clinicaltrials.gov. These are market-driven patient segments, so you have a lot more medical conditions, additional protocol IDs, so you can find more information, things like treatment plan, trial outcomes, et cetera. So you can imagine all this additional data being fed in through an AI engine and how important that is. So now I'm going to turn this over to Chris to take us through the applications that we've built, the use cases, and we'll have a little bit of a back and forth on some of these. Over to you, Chris.
Cool, thanks, Michael. And yeah, the suite of products and depth and breadth of data that Informa's Pharma Intelligence offering has is truly impressive. And I think that's quite honestly what's so exciting about this partnership. It's taking all that world-class data and bringing it to the next level. As Michael had mentioned already, the data itself from Informa Pharma Intelligence is structured, it's curated, and it's guided by expertise. And this is a great starting point when you're trying to help solve some of the industry's biggest challenges. While the Informa data coverage is vast and the depth and breadth is obviously impressive, there are a few areas outside of their coverage that many researchers use on a day-to-day basis that unfortunately are not covered. The challenge with these different data types is usually that they're unstructured and fundamentally speak different types of languages. A perfect example of this are publications from PubMed. The scientific language used in research papers have no format, there's no structure, and require researchers to read the entire publication to gain any insight. Same goes for patents, which use a very technical language and are very particular in what they will or will not mention in the actual patent itself. One of the unique features of the signals analytics technology is that it classifies both structured and unstructured data. Our AI contextual engines build out the taxonomy by surfacing all the relevant fields researchers want to investigate, as you can see on the screen. By being able to work with both structured and unstructured data, we were able to marry Informa's world-class information with the unstructured data types that are normally very challenging for researchers to consume. The technology classifies information with both a top-down and bottoms-up approach. The top-down part being the human intelligence aspect that Michael had mentioned earlier, and the bottom-up part being the artificial intelligence, which is the signals analytics portion. The end result of this process of applying this type of technology and overall editorial process is a connected data set that allows you to answer some of the most challenging questions researchers face. So with that, we developed 3 unique applications to help our customers analyze this powerful connected data set. Each application is deployed with a dynamic user interface that provides unique ranking and scoring to help all of our customers actually analyze decisions rather than just analyze data. The first app we're going to go through today is the Target Prioritization app. This app evaluates molecular development by stage, therapeutic potential, and competition. The app helps you try to establish which target to prioritize. The second app is the Modality Innovation app. This app is from the perspective of the technology, and it helps our users understand what's interesting and trending technologies available for them to deploy. And finally, the third app we're going to go through today is the Competitive Benchmarking app. This app analyzes companies based on research events and their existing portfolio, as well as robustness of its innovation. I think everyone will see on their screen right now, there is another poll that has popped up. I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds to answer that question. What are the most challenged areas that you're working on? And then we'll jump back into the presentation. Cool. So as you guys are answering the poll, I'm going to start things off by double-clicking into the Target Prioritization app. As I mentioned earlier, the Target Prioritization app evaluates molecular development by stage, therapeutic potential, and competition. Some of the questions this app helps answer are: who are the top entities behind targets? What are the leading, growing, and active targets? And what are the molecular target trends over time? To make the app actionable, we created 3 unique grades. The methodology of these grades were based on the expertise of the Informa's Pharma Intelligence team. The maturity grade, as you can see on the screen, is how far a target has progressed in the drug development life cycle. The therapeutic grade examines how strong the science and evidence is of the target, and the competition grade evaluates how competitive the target is within the industry. The app is actually three-dimensional, with the maturity grade on the x-axis, the therapeutic grade on the y-axis, and the color represents the competition. To give you an example of how you could actually use an application like this, we recently were working with a customer who is looking for emerging innovation. Most importantly, this customer wanted to be able to compare the innovation continuously as events occurred. When you open the target prioritization app, you are immediately met with clusters of targets positioned throughout the 2x2. The upper right-hand side represents more established targets, which usually are in the later stages of development or even in market. While those that are sort of sitting in the middle, as you can see, are emerging or just entering into clinical development. If I zoom in a little bit on the actual emerging targets, the ranking and scoring will dynamically change, as we've now actually shrunk the ecosystem in which all the targets are being compared to. From here, you can drill down and compare targets side by side to see the value of those targets and which one are more interesting for your day-to-day business. What's great is that using the target prioritization app, this customer is able to immediately find gaps in their portfolio by identifying early signals of innovation. And because the app is continuous, they are now able to monitor and score and rank the value of their selected targets as changes in the market occur. The next step that we're going to go through is the Modality Innovation app. The Modality Innovation app provides analysis from the perspective of the technology. The app is designed to help you understand the interesting and trending technologies that are out there and that you could potentially take advantage of. The app will answer questions like, what indications, targets, and entities are associated with unique modalities? What is the correlation between modalities and medical conditions? And which modalities should I prioritize? Again, we went through the process of creating 3 unique grades. This is the same exact methodology that we used with the target prioritization app, as the Informa Pharma Intelligence team's expertise focused heavily on their experience in trying to figure out what is the right methodology and what is the right ranking and scoring system to put in place. Again, the maturity grade looks at how far a modality has progressed in its development. The therapeutic grade looks at how strong the evidence is in supporting the success of that modality. And then the competition grade evaluates how competitive the modality is within the market. And I know it's probably small on the screen, but as you can see underneath all those different scores, which are squared off in the boxes, all the different relevant data types that are going into each score. When presented in the app, it's again 3-dimensional. The maturity grade is on the x-axis, the therapeutic grade is on the y-axis, and the color represents the competition. Again, giving you an example of how you could use this in day-to-day, a recent customer we worked with was a client who was looking to optimize their drug modality. They had an innovative technology and wanted to see if it was applicable or had additional value to other medical conditions. Similar to the target prioritization app, the Modality Innovation app is deployed in the same 2x2 fashion, allowing you to dynamically investigate all the different clusters that occur on the screen. In this example, you're looking at 2 inhibitors that are being compared within the same defined ecosystem. The app not only looks at the rank and score of the modality, but it dynamically compares their associated medical conditions. You can see that on the right-hand side of the screen. This is done by our unique NLP technology that surfaces all of the connected data points. So you can see that one of the selected modalities shows strong association to a broader range of medical conditions. Just by looking at it, it implies that the technology could be optimized and might have value, as it could be actually utilized across multiple medical conditions. What's exciting about this is that the customer is able to actually see immediate ROI by using this application. It allowed them to make the relatively easy decision to focus on a technology with a higher likelihood of success and value within the organization. The final app that we're going to look at today is the competitive benchmarking app. Competitive benchmarking app analyzes companies based on events, research, its existing portfolio, and the robustness of its innovation. Some of the key business questions that this app will try and answer are: which targets, modalities, and indications is the company addressing? How to benchmark against competitors? And how strong are competitors in early R&D and clinical research? The app is comprised of 4 unique grades. As stated with the previous apps, the methodology, again, was based on the industry expertise of Informa's Pharma Intelligence team. The business activity grade will look at important events and milestones of a company, things like product launches or trial results. The clinical grade will look at a company's clinical pipeline and its overall progression. The R&D grade evaluates a company's publication and IP activity. The portfolio grade assesses a company's portfolio size and the diversification of its portfolio. The 4 grades are actually then taken together and combined for a total scoring grade, providing an overall rank of the competition. And again, to give you a little bit of an example of how you would actually use this in day-to-day, recently working with a small biotechnology company who was looking to identify the right partner to out-license their asset with. The selection criteria was not just about the financials, as they were also looking for a true partner in this case. Their ideal scenario had them contributing to the overall value of the greater organization rather than just doing a strict deal or strict licensing opportunity. So by using a competitive benchmarking app, they were able to quickly drill down and rank who would be right for them. By having all the data organized and powered by a dynamic scoring system, they were able to prioritize who would be the best partner based on their extremely unique criteria. And like most small biotechs, this level of due diligence would not be possible given the size of the organization. For them, finding the right potential partner was an incredibly important decision. And just relying on pulling pipeline data or looking at company financials or offers in front of them wasn't enough. They wanted to rank and score some of the softer signals as well to make sure that that organization would be a good partner for them. Being able to dynamically compare companies allowed this customer to identify the right set of partners based on a very unique criteria. With the app continuously being updated, it allows them to monitor their short list of potential partners over time and to see how different market events occur that might potentially influence those partners and the potential of a partnership with them. So thank you guys so much for giving us the time of presenting the application for you. It's an exciting time with our partnership, and hopefully you've seen some value in these systems, and we can see from some of the polling results that obviously there's some interest here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. I was actually wondering, before we take some questions from the audience, when you talk about medical conditions, using the data from Informa Pharma Intelligence, how did that improve the view of the medical conditions and sort of the robustness that goes into the scoring that they so eloquently showed on the screen?
Yeah, I think the most important feature is the foundational piece of the information that Informa provides, the editorial process, and having the human view sort of set the guardrail, so to speak. It kind of comes throughout the entire system. If you just pull from clinicaltrials.gov or you pull from any other public source, there's a wide range of user error potential. There's a wide range of conditions. In certain cases from clinicaltrials.gov, you'll see things listed as medical conditions that are actually symptoms. So just the cleanliness of starting off with Informa's editorial process made the overall results of the system more impactful and more importantly, more relatable to the day-to-day user.
Great. So it looks like we have a couple questions on the attendee questions line. I'll just read them out and we can possibly answer them. First question I see is, any of the individual apps presenting summary data and scoring, is the user able to drill down to examine raw data or primary sources? You want to take that one, Chris?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So thank you for the question. It didn't fit obviously on the PowerPoint presentation, but in every application, as you click on any target, modality, or any of the competitive sections, once the screen repopulates, there's a data access table all the way at the bottom of the application. In that data access tablet, it brings you out to the direct source. So the clinicaltrials.gov listing, the actual drug itself, the research paper, if it was a research paper, so it'll bring you to PubMed, so on and so forth. So yes, there's a direct link to the publicly available source within the actual application.
Yeah, and I know we're also working on developing those direct links to the Informa Pharma Intelligence sources as well, of which you would need to be a subscriber to access those. Yeah, it does show you all the underlying data. Another question here, how flexible are the parameters one might set for a new search?
Sure.
How flexible are the apps?
So the apps are completely configurable. We start off with an off-the-shelf model that we've put together based on the expertise of the Pharma Intelligence team. But all the applications in terms of the weight scores and even the parameters themselves could be configured to an end user's needs. And the more complex the question, usually we'll work on more complex parameters that need to be analyzed and included within the each ranked score, including additional scores.
Great. Another question here. I'd like to say hi to my friend Vlad. Who is scoring, and how do you shield for bias?
So I think if we could send over maybe offline just a list of both the qualitative and parameters that are within each score, because you're looking at the actual hard numbers of number of trials, number of publications, so on and so forth, and then the qualitative aspect in terms of the percentages and the analysis of that. It's mainly driven by all publicly available information and things that are out there in the ecosystem. So there's no bias there as it relates to the scoring. What we tried to do was utilize Informa's Pharma Intelligence's expertise into deciding of what parameters and what data types go into the score, but the scores themselves are not biased at all. So and the fact that they're completely configurable allow the end user to potentially, tweak it to the way they view the market or how they feel certain data types might be included in that.
Great. Sort of a follow-up to that question. Yes, these types of techniques and other things could be used for advances in probability of success. We haven't built those into these applications, but you can expect that we are actively looking at that, given our history and background there. So there are a number of different approaches using AI to have predictive probability of success. Another question on the line, does it identify the source of target like academic versus industry so that, in case we need to partner?
Yeah, the list of ownership by entities is within that data access panel that we talked about earlier. So if you were to click on the target, it'll show you the target and all the leading entities that represent that and the pipelines associated. So yes, you could link that right back.
Any other questions from everyone? I know, we're just about half an hour through. We have a little bit more time. It's not meant to necessarily take up the whole hour today, but we're happy to answer more questions or follow up afterwards if anyone's interested. In a demonstration of these, more information, as Chris said, that we could supply on some of the scoring or any more detail that we could get into outside of a PowerPoint presentation. If not, really like to thank everyone for the time today. Please feel free to follow up with us directly or through any contacts that you have at either of our organizations. We're very excited about the combination here and what these apps are doing. Oh, got another question. Good. How well do you believe you have been in correlating synonyms, differences in abbreviations, and metrics? Great question.
So we have an alias synonym library, or thesaurus, I guess you would say, that is incredibly massive. And that's a large part of the process in putting this together. I would say that it's clearly an evolving process, and it never ends. But that is a big part of this is in creating the taxonomy and the tech itself, because it's a bottoms up approach in terms of our mass collection of all the data. It does allow us to capture everything. The bigger challenge is then actually, creating the relevant taxonomy and tagging everything and classifying it appropriately. But yes, quite a bit of our time, energy is spent, and one of the proprietary pieces of technology is to try to capture as many different aliases and synonyms as possible to ensure comprehensiveness when someone clicks on any of the data points in the application.
Yeah, and I would say that was very important for us in finding a partner with somebody who had the taxonomies, the libraries, the sources that could actually do that well and get a good result. So, we were very impressed with what Signals had to offer there and what they'd been able to develop over the years. And the work that they've done with customers on that, and what it really led us to confidence in developing these apps in this partnership.
So, Michael, there are two other questions maybe for you. The first question was on do you charge per app? And the second one being, how does someone access this?
Great. Yes, we do charge per app, and there are bundle discounts if you are looking for the suite of applications. We're happy to discuss that sort of offline with you. Typical depends on sort of number of users, size of the organization, et cetera. How do we access this? It's accessed through a login and password. Through the Signals platform. So if you would like to talk more about getting access to that, we can discuss that offline. There is a fee a subscription fee. A 12-month subscription is the typical way that we do a license. Hopefully that answers those questions. And again, we're very happy to show everyone live demonstrations of the apps and talk in more detail about the AI and the technology behind things, and run some live examples with anyone who is interested. And we can do that in over a demo WebEx or however anyone would like to do it. Well, again, thank you everyone for your time. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. We're looking forward to helping you, solve some of these business problems and do it quickly and do it very robustly with the data and the technology combination here that we've shown. So appreciate everyone's time and hope everyone has a nice day.